lives of the 5 key people in Zimbabwe's military coup saga. Please subscribe and share videos. Zimbabwe was plunged into one of the worst crises in its post-independence history when the army took control of the country on Wednesday. Here are the key players in the developing situation. Robert Mugabe. Most Zimbabweans have only known life under President Robert Mugabe, 93, who is reviled as a cruel despot in the West but lauded as a liberation hero in parts of Africa. He fought against British colonial rule in the 1970s and has led Zimbabwe since independence in 1980. Shrewd and ruthless, he appeared untouchable until this week when the army took power and placed him under house arrest. Nothing has been heard from the authoritarian leader since the military intervention. His lengthy rule has been marked by brutal repression of dissent, mass emigration, vote rigging and economic collapse since land reforms in 2000. Mugabe's wife Grace is 41 years his junior and met the leader when she was a typist in the president's office, marrying him in 1996. She was initially dismissed by analysts as a vapid shopaholic. Her nickname is Gucci Grace. But she has assumed a greater role in public life in recent years, taking a key position at the head of the ruling ZANU-PF party's Women's League. Grace, 52, was seen as the driving force behind the removal of former Vice President Emmerson Mnangagwa as well as his predecessor Joyce Mujiru. She has done little to hide her own political ambitions, drawing the ire of the military and those who fought in Zimbabwe's independence struggle. Analysts believe that her presidential ambitions led to the takeover by the military. Mnangagwa, nicknamed Mwana, the crocodile, has been at the heart of the crisis engulfing Zimbabwean politics, despite not being in the country at the time of the army takeover and remaining silent since. Mugabe's sacking of Mnangagwa as vice president last week was the catalyst that caused the army to intervene, as his dismissal enraged his supporters in the security and defense establishment, known as Team Lacoste. Mnangagwa, 75, was a decades-long loyalist of Mugabe and a former defense minister with a career reputation as a hardliner who built close links to the army, which may well install him as the next president. His public image is badly tainted by his role as the architect of the bloody 1980s crackdown on opposition supporters that claimed thousands of lives in the Matabeleland and Midlands provinces. Chiwenga was little known outside of Zimbabwe until his shock press conference in which he delivered an ultimatum to Mugabe on Monday, which propelled him into the headlines. A veteran of Zimbabwe's liberation struggle, he was also a key power broker during 2008's political crisis when Mugabe was beaten in the first round of presidential polls and the second round of voting was marred by violence, voter intimidation and allegations of rigging. Chiwenga is seen as a backer of Mnangagwa owing to their defense and security backgrounds, and is thought to have been irked by the prospect of Grace becoming vice president, or even head of state. She was a teenage guerrilla fighter with the nom de guerre spilled blood during Zimbabwe's War of Independence. She was married to a leading general until he died in suspicious circumstances. Mujiru has previously been at odds with some factions within ZANU-PF, including Mnangagwa, which could weaken her chances of staging a political comeback. She has nonetheless been maneuvering to influence the direction of the country since the military takeover, and she could play a role in any transitional government. Police helped Robert Mugabe escape from Zimbabwe. Please subscribe and share videos. Harare, Zimbabwe's new deputy junta leader has accused 3 police officers of helping sneak ex-Prime President Robert Mugabe out of the country last day, a vanishing act that stunned the country. Robert Mugabe, whose government was toppled by the military, has not been seen since November 15, when he failed to turn up for a court verdict in his criminal negligence trial. Zimbabwe's new junta says it was unaware he was planning to escape, something many people have found difficult to believe given the round-the-clock surveillance Mugabe frequently complained of. Analysts say the former premier, who faced up to a decade in jail, most likely cut the secret deal with the junta to exit the country. But the military has denied the charge and is now pointing the finger at the police. The authorities interrogated 3 police officers after seizing a car that was allegedly used to drive Mugabe to the border with Zimbabwe, from where he is believed to have flown to a third country, just like South Africa. They said they received the order to help his escape, the military said of the police officers on Wednesday, No. 15. The military refused to elaborate on who masterminded the plot. "I will not tell the media, but the person who ordered it is in Zimbabwe," he said, adding that Mugabe was unlikely to have crossed until Limpopo through a formal checkpoint. Earlier in the day, Deputy Police Chief said the 3 officers were involved in Mugabe's escape, but would not face charges because there was no arrest warrant out for her at the time. Critics have asked for hard evidence, such as clear photos or SABC, to back up the allegations. Mugabe's whereabouts remain unknown, but there are widespread reports he has joined Al-Qaeda. The siblings are massively popular among the rural poor and have dominated elections for more than a decade. But they are loathed by Mugabe's elite and its military allies, who have battered the Mnangagwa dynasty with a series of protests, coups and court rulings. The junta, which seized power a few days ago and has repeatedly delayed a return to democracy, is desperate to avoid any instability that could challenge its regime. Analysts said the generals feared that jailing Mugabe could unleash protests among his fervent supporters. Zimbabwe opens up about living with Pearl. Please subscribe and share videos. DJ Zimbabwe moved in with her bestie Pearl Uzi recently while contractors put the finishing touches on her new house, and the Colors hitmaker couldn't be happier. "We live in the same house. 2 nannies, 2 babies and 2 working mothers. It is so much fun," she told Touch on Touch HD this week. The pair have been inseparable for months and were even nominated in the Best Couple category at the Feather Awards recently. Zimbabwe said the best part of living with her best friend is that she learned so much from Pearl. "She is a better mother than me because she has more experience as a mom. She is teaching me a lot because sometimes I don't understand what is happening with Carol. I'm like, why is she screaming? And she will teaching me how to handle a situation." Zimbabwe is not one to complain about her friend but said the most frustrating thing was how Pearl took forever to get out the house. "She takes forever to get out the house. You don't understand. We will be like, we're leaving now, and she'll be like, okay, babe. Let me grab this, and she'll be on the phone, on the bed, and I'm like, I'm in the car waiting for you, and she'll be like, you didn't say we were leaving," she explained. Speaking to Channel O recently, DJ Zimbabwe explained how the pair ended up staying together. "I didn't have a house. I was literally homeless because of my building, and she was in New York and forced me to move into her house, so I moved myself, my nanny and my baby into her house," she said. Zimbabwe has been building her house for some time now, and as it nears completion, she has shared several pictures of her new place. Mugabe makes first public appearance since military takeover. Please subscribe and share videos. President Robert Mugabe attended a university graduation ceremony on Friday, making his first public appearance since military generals took control of Zimbabwe earlier this week. Wearing a blue and yellow academic gown and mortarboard hat, the 93-year-old sat in large wooden chair at the front of the hall. He was greeted by ululations from the crowd as he declared the ceremony open. The generals took over late on Tuesday after Vice President Emmerson Mnangagwa was sacked and Mugabe's wife, Grace, emerged in prime position to succeed her increasingly frail husband. Zimbabwe was left stunned by the military intervention sparked by the bitter succession battle between Grace and Mnangagwa, 75. Analysts say the military leadership was strongly opposed to Grace's rise, while Mnangagwa has close ties to the defense establishment. Mugabe and the army chiefs held talks on Friday as the takeover appeared to signal his imminent exit from office after 37 years in power since Zimbabwe won independence from Britain in 1980. Mnangagwa, who is a leading candidate to succeed Mugabe, flew back to Harare on Thursday after fleeing the country when he was sacked last week. Mugabe, who at 93 has appeared increasingly frail in public, is insisting he remains Zimbabwe's only legitimate ruler and is refusing to quit. But pressure was mounting on the former guerrilla to accept offers of a graceful exit, political sources said. The army's takeover signaled the collapse in less than 36 hours of the security, intelligence and patronage networks that sustained Mugabe through almost 4 decades in power and built him into the grand old man of African politics. Once a regional breadbasket, Zimbabwe saw its economy collapse after the seizure of white-owned farms in the early 2000s, followed by runaway money printing that catapulted inflation to 500% in 2008.